the recording. For those of you watching this in the future via YouTube, welcome.
Yes.
We are here with Mr. Hiram Green of Hiram Green Perfumes. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for
Nice to
having
meet
me.
you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Yeah.
What city are you in?
Well, good question, actually. I just moved yesterday, or on Monday. Monday was the official moving day. I'm now outside of a tiny village called Bussum, which is close to Amsterdam.
Okay.
So before that, for about 12 years, I was in Gouda, or in English, as you say, Gouda, where all the cheese is from.
Yeah.
So I was there for over a decade, and I was trying to make Gouda more famous for perfume than cheese.
Nice.
That is
It
quite
didn't really
the
work out.
endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just thought, I can't do this any longer. So I left.
That would be like making Gras more famous for cheese than perfume.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Quite the accomplishment.
So I'm close to Amsterdam now, where before I was more close to Rotterdam. But again, I'm really in the countryside now. I'm not close to anything.
Yeah, that actually sounds quite nice to us.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Are you originally?
Where are you actually?
We're in Denver, Colorado.
Not many people, well, you wouldn't know this, but my father grew up in Colorado Springs.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know Denver very well, but of course I've been a few times.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
That's so cool.
I look forward to going back. Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads us into the beginning of the official interview, which is wanting to know really your backstory and where did you actually grow up? And so your father is American?
Yeah, he's not actually. My father was actually born in England,
Okay.
but he grew up in Colorado. I mean, he was born in Colorado Springs, and he was there up until his mid-20s or so. My grandfather was actually from Australia, so yeah. But he left Canada in the early 70s and went to Toronto in Canada, and there he met my mother. And the rest is history. I grew up in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And that's where both my parents still live today. So,
Okay.
So I'm Canadian.
Is your mother French Canadian?
No, she's boring. Grew up in Toronto.
Regular Canadian or whatever.
Canadian, but of course my grandparents also grew up in Canada as well, in Toronto. So yeah, but before that, of course, they came from somewhere else because no one from North America is really you don't have to go too back far to find some roots somewhere around the world.
Right. So when did you leave Toronto?
A long time ago. I don't really feel Canadian anymore. Have you ever been to Toronto before?
No, I have not.
No.
You haven't either?
No.
Yeah.
No. It's the largest city in Canada, and when I was growing up, it was just, I just felt it was so boring, and and I couldn't wait to get out. And I always wanted to move to London. So my background, I studied drawing and painting. I went to art college in Toronto, but I wanted to leave so badly. And the moment I had the opportunity, I went to London and never looked back. So in fact, I lived in London for about 14 years. And then I moved here now for, I think it's about 14. I haven't really counted. It's about 13 or 14 years here in the Netherlands. So it's really coming like more than half my life living outside than in
Yeah,
Canada.
interesting.
Yeah.
What inspired the move to Amsterdam or to the Netherlands in general?
Um, well, London is a great place. I lived there for a long time, but it's also a difficult place to live. And I guess London was not very nice to me in the end, or I don't think it's nice to many people.
Yeah.
But I just needed to start all over again, and and moving to the Netherlands was an opportunity, and it's you know I like many things about living here, but the weather is certainly not one of them. No,
No.
no, it's really sunny today, but for the most, I guess it's starting to be springtime, but the whole winter is really gray,
Yeah.
wet, raining,
Yeah.
windy, very windy, and very gray and very dark, and so it's nice to have a bit of a sunshine here.
Nice.
At least,
And yet, I believe I think it's the Netherlands and maybe Finland and Denmark. Like that region gets like consistently ranked like the happiest people in the world live there. Apparently,
yeah, yeah, I know. It's changed a lot since in the 10 or 13 years that I've lived here. You can certainly see changes. These changes are happening all over the world, but generally speaking, it's still a very nice place to live. We pay a lot of taxes,
yeah,
but we get a lot back for it, or we get something back for it. So and we have you know um, it's a good society where everyone uh, everyone can live normally, um, and I think that's uh, important. Of course, the longer that you live here, and if you don't travel to other places, you don't realize what you have here. So if you ask most Dutch people, they uh,
right.
might not say the same thing. But generally speaking, it's a nice place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
And
good beer as well.
what's that?
Good beer.
Good
And
beer. Yeah,
good
Yeah.
cheese. And in the last little while, some good fragrances as well.
yeah.
Yes.
Is
Speaking of.
speaking of.
Yeah.
So, is that where you started the brand? Were you already?
I started the brand here. I guess I should give you a bit of history of how I
Please.
got into the fragrance
Yeah.
industry. Such. Let's see. So, um, in a nutshell, I don't know how much time you have. But I'll try to
We
do
have
this.
as much time as we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I moved to London, the idea I had my background is well, I had studied fine arts. I was going to be an artist. I moved to London. Okay, I was going to be an artist in London, but I needed to have I needed a job. A way to make a way to pay the rent, and by chance, the first job that I got was working in a shop that sold lots of smelly stuff, scented candles, perfumes, and I got more and more interested in that, and less interested in making art. Um, I guess also just living in London, but um, I decided I wanted to do something of my own, and in 2003, this is now what 22 years ago now.
Yeah.
Long time.
It makes me sound very old. But in 2003, I decided I wanted to do something for my own, and I opened my own shop in London. If you've ever been to London, the shop was close to Carnaby Street. You have Liberty Department Store, and then you have Carnaby Street, and the next street over is called Newburgh Street. And I had a tiny little store there, and I sold perfume, and the idea was my idea was not to sell my own perfume. I had no interest in making perfume myself at this time, but to really promote young and young brands and young
Yeah.
perfumers and people doing something different. We didn't really have the word niche perfume at that time.
Right.
So, and it was not easy to find brands that I thought were even worthy of my little my tiny little shop. I wanted to. I didn't want to have brands that were part of a big parent company. I wanted to have people that were producing themselves, and at the time it wasn't so easy to find. And I think as well, I had a bunch of interesting brands, and it was a very interesting shop. But I was in the end I was just way too ahead of my time,
Mm.
and I had to close the shop and start all over again,
Mm.
and that sort of that meant that for me at the time meant moving to the Netherlands. In fact, it
Okay.
was a good decision, but when I had the shop, I became more and more interested in natural perfumes, or what was actually inside the perfumes, because you're very interested in perfumes. You talk to a lot of perfumers and a lot of perfume brands, and at least 20 something years ago, when I was talking to these brands, I started asking questions, and I didn't wasn't really getting clear answers from at least a lot of the bigger brands. And the
Sure.
smaller brands was, yeah, it was, I say like, okay, so is there, so there's, these are the notes of the perfume. Does that mean that these are the ingredients inside it? Well, it's not
Right.
quite
Right.
simple. So are there synthetics, or, and I started to realize that not there wasn't much natural inside the perfumes,
Yeah.
and what people were buying was synthetic products. So I got more and more interested in sort of the natural. Uh, uh, Sort of the natural fragrances is sort of an idea of authenticity, um, and also because there were fragrances in the shop that I had that when I put them on my skin, I would really break out
Hmm.
with headaches and just feeling very uncomfortable. Although I love the smell, so it's a bit of
Right.
uh, like a drug, eh? You love
And we
really
do.
my and
Yeah.
and then a half an hour later, I'd have a headache, and I'm like, "Well, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be doing
Right.
it. It happens every time." And
Yeah.
then I realized that this didn't happen with the all natural fragrances that I sold in my shop, and I couldn't quite figure out. So what is it about the natural fragrances and this and some of the synthetic fragrances that were causing me to have headaches? So that was sort of
Yeah.
how I got. That was how I got interested in the whole natural idea. And then when I moved to the Netherlands, it was like, okay, I'm uh, there's very little natural perfume brands on the market. Um, I want to do something different, and I spent years sort of even from before I moved to the Netherlands. I started to basically to teach myself perfumery, and then eventually in 2013. So now 12 years ago, or will be 12 years in June, I launched my first fragrance, which is
Okay.
so I started the brand with just one fragrance,
And what was the first fragrance?
Moon bloom.
Moon
Moon
Bloom.
Blue.
Okay.
Mm,
Yeah, and
yeah.
we've got the set here, folks. For those of you still watching on double cam. Um, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to hear you describe what you were doing during that period of time, because I mean, much of perfumery is still secretive today, but the rules and the regulations and the legalities have changed. Where prior to 2005, I think it was, you remember, they didn't even have to list the ingredients. They could just write parfum, alcohol, like
Yeah.
that was it. And it was like everything else was top secret. Now,
Mm.
the legalities have changed, and at the very least, they have to list a lot of the specific synthetics they're using on the ingredients. But this was before even that was required.
What you have to list now are the allergens.
Yeah.
So there's 26 at the moment. There's 26 allergens, and uh, if these allergens are in the perfume, then they have to be listed.
Okay.
So and it doesn't, and the allergens are in the chemical names or the aroma chemicals. So they can be found naturally in many essential oils as well. So
Right.
um,
You have a very thorough listing here that
yeah,
that will show folks that comes for each fragrance.
it doesn't really give that much away.
No, there's no like you can't take this and go, oh, I'm going to copy Hiram Green's work.
No,
No.
no, I don't think. I mean, if you're a perfumer, you might smell the perfume and you'll have an idea. If you read the allergens, it shouldn't be a big surprise to you what you're
Right.
yeah, but it certainly isn't enough to give away any kind of secrets.
So I'm curious, did you ever figure out, um, what specifically was causing reactions and issues for you? Because, to your point here, and many people aren't aware of this, that, um, it's a little bit of a paradox because many people do have these reactions to more synthetic fragrances, and yet even natural fragrances, 100% natural fragrances such as yours, have listed allergens. But so there's a difference then between an allergen or a potential allergen and something that causes a reaction, right?
Uh,
Did you
yeah.
ever, I'm just curious, did you ever figure out specific synthetics that were
No,
problematic?
I'm not. I'm in no way am I a scientist or a chemist or a doctor or anything like
Sure.
this. So I can't really. I can only speculate as to why, and still to this day, why some fragrances give me headaches and others don't. I
Yeah.
know that whatever the fragrance is, if it's entirely natural, I never get a headache from it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that I like the fragrances so much, but I
Sure.
never get a headache from it. And it's not every synthetic fragrance that causes a reaction either. So, and certainly I'm not here to say that synthetics are bad. I mean, we cannot live without them. In maybe we can live without them in some ways, but the world is a bit more complex than that now. But what I would say is that when it comes to the natural, when it comes to the natural ingredients, your brain is wired to recognize it. So you can recognize the smell of lavender, you can recognize the smell of jasmine or rose
Right.
or lots of other smells, even if it's not a flower or a plant that you're familiar with. There's so much these the essential oils or absolutes of these ingredients are made up of so many different aroma chemicals, and there's so much overlap between all the between everything in the natural world. So you have, if you like, a limited um, a palette of things that you can of things that are natural, and I believe that you're wired to smell them from a very young age. It's your upbringing. You
Sure.
grow up smelling everything in nature.
Yeah.
Now, with especially some of the more recent aroma chemicals, the more recent synthetics, that what you have is you have aroma chemicals that do not exist in nature. So you can have an aroma chemical. You have lavender is made up of certain aroma chemicals. You can have that synthetically or naturally, but
Right.
it's a smell that we're familiar with.
Right.
It's a smell that we have somehow wired in our brain. But if someone creates a new aroma chemical that has nothing to do with any of the other smells, not
Yeah,
necessarily
it's not a
the way it smells,
constituent of anything in nature.
and the way it's made up in terms of molecules, I think it plays with our brain, and somehow my brain is not wired to recognize uh, this kinds of smell, and it goes crazy.
Yeah.
Now, this is just me as from my experience and
Mm.
from what I know. This is what I'm saying. Now, you
Sure.
might have some chemist come on the program later and totally say that I'm full of rubbish.
Well,
That's uh,
It's a good theory.
fine, but I think this is a theory that works for me, and
I mean, it makes good
I thought
sense.
that it's a theory that works for many of my customers as well.
Sure. I mean, to put it in context that maybe um, the casual listener might understand, or the casual fragrance aficionado, you know, coumarin is a synthetic, but it's the kind of core constituent that's in natural tonka bean, and so there's a relationship there where people can smell coumarin, and at the very least it lights up part of the circuitry that recognizes tonka, right? But we don't have a circuit for akigala wood, which
Yeah.
is which is one of these aroma chemicals, right? That's been created out of thin air. And again, no, I have no judgment. I love
ISO super, these
yeah,
kinds of things,
yeah,
ambroxine,
Mm.
so many of the very popular smells uh,
right.
I
that are very
definitely
much.
didn't grow up smelling whale poop.
Well, although that is natural.
I don't have that mapped in my brain now.
Well,
Okay.
as an aside, you are all natural. Are your works vegan, or do you have some animal, ambergris, castoreum civet, those kinds of things?
No. Well, yes and no. The only my fragrances are entirely vegan except for Slow Dive, which contains beeswax absolute.
Beeswax, sure.
So you don't find any sort of ambergris or civet. I mean, I find it absolutely astonishing that you can still buy civet on the open market.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, do you know how it's made?
yeah. The poor animals are not treated kindly.
But it even okay. I say you can easily buy it, but I don't think you'll find it in many perfumes.
No, agreed.
Even perfumes with this sort of aromatic smell, I think it's a very a minute amount of perfumes in the industry that actually uses this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
And
And so,
in terms of things like ambergris, I mean, you can't. That is a product that you cannot buy so easily, or I cannot buy it with all the documentation that I need to prove that it's 100% natural. I've never found a very uh, 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 good supplier for that. But it's not a sustainable product either. So
sure,
it's not something that I
right.
would. Although it's a very fascinating material to use, it's not in any of my
Yeah,
perfumes.
and for me that's an interesting segue into the sort of unique challenges of natural perfumery, which is to create something that smells beautiful but also smells unique and original and can replicate certain things that you don't have access to. If you want something that smells a little bit animalic, like I have Hyde
Yeah,
one, which is this wonderful, deep, leathery,
yeah,
slightly animalic twinge. Really beautiful, but you don't have the luxury of Firmeniche's synthetic, civet, or an ambergris, a synthetic ambergris accord, or synthetic castoreum, because you're all natural. So you've got a much smaller palette to use.
I,
Um,
I have a smaller palette to use. That is maybe true, but what I do have is, I mean, you will not find uh, this. you will not find these ingredients in other perfumes. They're just too damn expensive. And other perfumers that are professionally trained would also never put together the kinds of formulas that I put together. I think they would look at it and it would be what's going on here.
It's not right. You've done it wrong.
Well, I don't know if I don't nowadays. I don't know if that attitude still prevails, but certainly that it's sort of a bit of bewilderment. Sort of what is it here, and why have you done it this way?
Sure.
You don't really have to. You don't really. Once you learn something a certain way, it's very hard to unlearn it. So. Um, Certainly, there's a lot of ingredients that I use in very high concentrations that I just know there are not in any of the other perfumes. I mean, it's obvious also when you look at the colors of my perfumes.
Right.
These colors come from all the natural ingredients inside them.
Yeah. I
Ta-da.
mean, they really are beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So that leads me to want to go all the way back to the beginning of this when you've decided running a retail shop isn't working, London isn't working. Maybe I don't want to sell perfume. Maybe I want to make perfume, and it's got to be all natural. What was your process? I'm so curious how you're obviously you're entirely self-trained, and again, not only are you self-trained, but you're self-trained from a period of time that like you know predates YouTube and most of the available internet. So it's not like I can say I'm self-trained, and what I mean by that is I just look up everything online that's readily available, and I have all of these resources. But I'm in charge of cultivating those resources, right? You didn't have any of that, so how did you do it? What was the process? How'd you dive in?
Um, well, I didn't think that I could do it at first. I had a friend that was a customer of the shop in the very beginning, and she said, "Well, you know what all the ingredients are, you just don't know the names." So first, you have to understand that when when you when you make a perfume, or when all the perfumes on the well, let's just say most of the perfumes on the market, they're all made with the aroma chemicals. They're not used by mixing lavender or mixing a rose together. Maybe they use natural oils as a sort of a way to smooth everything out, but they're using things that make up these smells, or the aroma chemicals that make up these smells. And some of them are available naturally, but not all of them. Certainly not all of them. But I had this friend. I don't know if I had this friend who was training to be a perfumer, and she brought me these aroma chemicals, and she said, "So what is this?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what it is, but it's the main ingredient in this perfume." And I said, "Very good." I don't, and then smell this. Well, I know this. This is this. There's a lot of this in this perfume. So we went through, and I could recognize the main ingredients of each perfume. I didn't know the names of them. So she said, "Well, you're halfway there. All you need to know now is what each of these ingredients are called." And so it was the early days of the internet, and I went to the library, and I just got as much information as I could about how perfume is made, and then try to just apply just use natural ingredients instead of synthetics, and that was sort of the beginning, and it was especially limited in terms of main ingredients that I was buying, they were the essential oils, and I was buying them from health food stores. You know, you go into the health food store still today, and you can buy lavender, rose, jasmine. You can get all the main ingredients, and I get lots of people asking me what how do I how do I learn how to make perfume? And then I think, well, it's at the end of the day, it just takes time. And what you need to
Sure.
do is to sit down with the raw ingredients and smell them and just learn them inside out,
Yeah.
and start with the most basic and simple ingredients that you can get, and work from there. It's really that easy. You can complicate it with more information, but I think essentially what you need to do is just pick up lavender, read all about it, smell it, and then maybe try and mix it with with something else. You do a mix it with, I don't know, rose, just for example. I'm on this lavender rose kick, but just mix it, a ratio 1 to 10, 2 to 10, and then you figure out
No Carl method.
how things work. So
Right.
it's quite basic on that regard. Of course, once you start up a company, it becomes a bit more
More
challenging, more complicated.
So how much?
The essence of making perfume is really quite simple. Like that.
So how much time between the decision to become a perfumer and the creation of Moonbloom?
Maybe 7 or 8 years.
Mm.
7 or 8 years.
Part
Incredible.
of that had to do with just having the confidence to go out and do it. Yeah,
Ugh. I
yeah,
mean, there really is, again, people who watch, they know. I mean, I've got a huge collection. I love perfumes of all varieties, including synthetic stuff, but there is just something about the beauty of a well done, all natural perfume um, that just can't be replicated. Uh,
yeah.
it really is. It just like it quiets my entire body and nervous system. It's
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
bloom is especially good for that.
it is.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, so 7 or 8 years, which is uh,
I can't say that it was 7 or 8 years of really of only working on Moonbloom, of
no,
course.
no, of course not. But your training and what it took to go into this being
Yeah,
created.
I still feel like the new kid on the block. So now I've been doing. The company will be 13 years old this year, and I don't feel like a teenager yet. I still feel
Wow.
like a toddler. There's so much that I need to still learn, and so much that I'd like to do. But I'm certainly proud of the 8 fragrances that are in the collection.
Yeah.
And Moonbloom continues to be one of the best sellers
No
for
doubt.
the last, uh, and my first retail partner was Lucky Scent in America,
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
really?
and they've uh, they bought Moonbloom, and then when there was nothing else, and they still yeah, they still sell it well. Well, for me, they sell it well. I'm sure they
Yeah.
sell lots of other things now too, but it's still very popular with them. So
And for those who are interested, I did actually get the sample set from Lucky Scent.
all right, okay,
So
yay!
yeah. Again, this is not about you giving away any trade secrets. So this is more just sort of commentary and observation. One of the things that I find fascinating about your work, it's here in Moonbloom, and it's also in surprisingly to me, um, which one? Trist,
Hmm.
which is in the running for one of my favorites. Again, surprisingly to me, because that's not normally the sort of profile I gravitate towards. But in both of these, there is this, it's almost like a hidden smoky depth I don't know if it's the resins you're using. Again, it's not really smoke, um, but there's a beautiful kind of ambery sort of depth to these um, that I'm just not used to in natural fragrances like this, especially Moon Bloom, which is predominantly white floral and you get that kind of green coconut thing coming through. So
Moonbeam is sort of warmer and yeah, a bit more yeah, coconut. Well, a little pinch of coconut, where twist is more orange flower. So there's a lot of petitgrain in there. Quite a lot of well, neroli and orange flower, everything from the orange tree.
sure,
But in all my fragrances, particularly the flowery ones, I'm looking at them all now, but in pretty much all of them, you will find a lot of resins, and
yeah,
it's just that just helps so much with the longevity of the fragrance.
hmm
Keeping the floral notes alive until the very end.
yeah. I mean, you look at the note profiles, and these are the types of fragrances, this types of note profiles that would be very easy, to be very light and pardon the phrasing, but girly, just sort of very kind of light and fluffy and feminine. And I don't find that to be true at all.
No,
Yeah,
well, I like to make fragrances with a bit of a punch to it, a bit of a
yeah,
kick.
yeah,
I
which I
uh,
appreciate.
I there's a lot of people who have an idea of natural perfumes smelling very light and very almost like non-fragrances.
Right.
Uh, that was not my intent. My intent was to make a fragrance that was very full-bodied, that was has sort of a luxury feel to it.
hmm
These ingredients that I'm using are so expensive to produce. I really wanted to show them off in the best possible way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting again, just kind of highlighting not just the difficulty of perfumery, but also specifically natural perfumery. I actually had somebody messaging me this morning, saying that he's been experimenting, and of course he's at the very beginning stages, and it took you 7 to 8 years just to get going. But he said, no matter what I do, I've got all of these natural ingredients, and no matter what I do, it doesn't smell like perfume. It just smells like a bunch of essential oils. And you hear that from people a lot. And again, you don't recognize the difficulty of using just naturals and creating what feels like a unique finished perfume. It's much harder to do than when you don't have the luxury of synthetics.
It's not easy, but it can be done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You've demonstrated that. Yeah.
Yeah. So your favorites so far, Moonbloom and Trist?
Moonbloom, I don't have as a favorite. I'm not a huge white floral guy. Um, Trist, I was surprised at how much I liked it into the dry down.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, it was when I gave it a full wearing. I mean, it smells very pretty, but then the more it dried down, the more that resinous aspect started coming through. And I actually wore it to the gym the other day and kept getting whiffs of it. I was like, man, this is great. I really like Trist, Arcadia, and Arbalay
Okay.
are the ones that really. Now I love Hyde. Don't get me wrong. This is more Hyde is my kind of thing, of course. That dark, spicy, leathery.
Are you wearing them?
Yeah, it's on my. Um,
That smells good.
you like that one?
Very smoky campfire.
Yeah, it is. It is smoky. Yeah. Um, but I was just so uh, kind of surprised at how these other ones wore that. If I were to grab a bottle, it would probably be one of those right away. My first bottle would be one of those. I mean, I will grab bottles, but yeah, it would probably be Arcadia because it has that. I'm a big vintage masculine guy. Like this whole middle section of my collection here is all,
Yeah.
classic masculines from the 70s and 80s. Thank you. Yeah. And Arcadia harkens to those clearly.
It's certainly, yeah.
When did that one come?
Um, a few years ago, I can't remember the exact date, but
Two.
Arcadia is really just a classic fougere fragrance, and these classic themes like chypre, fougere, and they're I wouldn't say they're easy to do with all naturals, but it's certainly it's something that's it's a possibility, and it's really nice to just to use these. You know, everybody knows where fougere fragrance is a mix of lavender and tonka bean,
Right.
uh, and just to these are two natural ingredients. Let's just mix it together, and then you have a you have it basically. So that's the basis. And for me, I love the floral, a lot of the floral absolutes, so jasmine, um, tuberose, iris as well. So just take these ingredients, mix them into Arcadia and into the lavender and the tonka bean, and
Yeah.
that's that's it. Done.
So easy, so simple.
So simple, yet so simple to describe, but still it takes me quite a long time to make each fragrance.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the business side. At this point, you've got 8 fragrances at this point. You're. I mean, my perception is that you're very well known at this point. Um, does
I
it
don't
feel that way to you?
know.
Okay.
um, well, it surprises me when I go to, for example, Exxon's trade fair for fragrance that happened last month, and how
Yeah.
it surprises me on one level how many people do know me and how many fans I do have, and it's really flattering to hear all the comments from everyone and all the people who want to meet me. But then at the same time, there's equally or more people who stop by my stand and have never heard of me before and have
Okay.
really no idea what it's all about, and so it's I guess in certain circles I'm people do know what I'm doing, and but um, for the most part, people don't. Yeah.
And
So we
and
have to change that.
so are you still a one man show? What one was that you just
This
sprayed
one.
on?
This one.
Filter.
This is like literally in order, so we can.
So,
Filter is really nice. That was this new one from last year. That's very spicy floral fragrance.
oh, the clove really stands out. Beautiful.
Might be my favorite.
I think it's I really like filter at the moment. So, sorry, what was the question
Are
again?
you so in terms of your kind of size and sort of business setup? Are you still
Yeah.
a one man show doing everything?
Yep.
You are. Wow.
Yep. I'm too busy now for my own good. I'm
Yeah.
not a. I'm incredibly busy. But I'm not a very good businessman.
Usually artists are not.
Right.
We know that.
Yeah.
And then when I started, I didn't know anything about the business, about the perfume world really, and how my biggest. I don't know how much I should admit on camera here, but I didn't know the sort of the normal markup rate of how much a perfume uh, cost to produce and then what it's sold for in the shop. So from the moment go, my pricing was enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't allow for any growth, and I'm now in this uh, um, problem where I'm too busy to be a one man show anymore, but I don't really earn enough money to have.
Not busy enough to make it easier on yourself.
Well, I'm busy enough, but I cannot I cannot I, even if I make more. My margins are too low, so this does not allow to hire other people to help
Yeah,
me and
right.
to grow and to expand. And even selling more would not be, it would not really. It's not about sort of selling more. I think I'm selling. Well, I like to, of course, sell more, but um, yeah, it's a sort of strange place right now where I
Yeah,
really can't do much more myself, and I'm not making enough money to have someone else help me out. So 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 I don't know what the future is.
yeah,
There's always the tried and true practice of hiring mentees
that's
to help
true.
you. People who want to learn from you, learn how to perfume,
Yeah, I
get them
think
to come in and help you bottle, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think this is the only way for the moment
yeah,
to because I really would like more people to know what I'm doing. So I really would like to get the news out and have a retail partner in more cities. One in Denver,
Sure.
Colorado. Right?
yeah,
It's a good place to be, I think.
It
yes.
is. Our goal is actually to get a retail shop up here. There's a real need.
Just department stores.
We have nothing
No.
in Denver. There's no kind of independent.
It'll come very soon, I think.
Hopefully through
Yeah,
us.
maybe. Yeah.
But that is, one of the reasons we started this channel and are having these conversations with people like yourself is that it's the same thing. We want to help introduce people to the world of kind of smaller independent brands and artisan style work. And there's a need for it. I think there's an increasing demand for it. It's just about getting people connected with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And helping to break the sort of meme cycles that drive a lot of consumership currently in the perfume industry. With a lot of I'm famous for digging on Louis Vuitton as a brand, for example, right? That there's all of these kids coming into the industry now that are beginning to be consumers of perfume, and they're being pulled in these directions that are not efficient uses of their money. It's mediocre perfume with the opposite of yours. That's the markups are extraordinary. A $400 bottle of perfume that costs them 25 cents to produce.
Yeah, I know it's astonishing, and what I find even more astonishing is that even when I go to these trade fairs like Exons, and I meet up with not just store owners, but people who are, you have another layer of distributors, if you like,
Mm-hmm.
people who will take on the brand for a certain country or a certain area and then sell it to the retailers.
Right.
It, I guess my point is that the whole market, very very few people have an idea of the actual costs.
Right.
If I say to people that my costs are extraordinarily high, it doesn't mean anything to them because
Right.
it's for them. For most people, it's just another PR story. Like, oh yes, we use the best possible ingredients.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I can tell you that the tuberose oil, the tuberose absolute, is now 18,000 euros a kilo. I guess that's about $18,000 or
About 20,000, close to it. Yeah.
close to $20,000 per kilo. Um, and that's an awful
That's
lot.
incredible.
The Rose de Mai that I use in a lot of my perfumes is now 26,000 euros. So, um, I just, I buy all my ingredients from these well-known companies in Grasse, Robote, Baron Bertrand, a couple others, and a few years ago, I thought, I'm really happy that you spent so much time explaining everything to me. I mean, I'm such a small customer, and he said, Hiram, you're not a small customer.
Yeah.
And it was something I sort of that's when it started to click, and it was like, well, I'm buying. Well, I'm not buying a whole kilo of tuberose at a time, but I'm buying. Uh, Actually, I'm buying half a kilo at a time, and I'm buying kilos of jasmine every year. I mean,
Yeah.
jasmine is now 7,000 euros a kilo, and I'm 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 using quite a lot of this stuff, and there is only a small amount of it available. So it's quite special what I do in that,
Yeah.
sense. And that's sort of when it dawned on me. This it really is special what I do, and and people, just myself included, have no idea about the cost of how everything, what is normal for the industry.
Yeah. I
At
mean,
that, I realized the cost price of my perfume was extraordinarily high.
and even before you brought it up, I was going to ask, and kind of like, again, we don't want to get too specific here, but I'm smelling these, and I have enough experience with my kind of early phases of perfumery and what I've learned in my materials purchasing and all of that, and formula creation, to be smelling these and understanding the naturals that are in here and seeing the price that you sell them for. And up here, I'm going, this doesn't compute.
And there should be twice as much as at
They should
least
easily,
twice
yeah,
as much. But I didn't want to be in that. I didn't want to be in that extremely luxury market.
sure,
But then when you look at the how much those perfumes are selling for, and what it costs to produce them, it doesn't cost any different than a regular perfume. That's just, it's just the idea of having something exclusive.
right,
So maybe I should double my prices. There would be a shock, but
yeah,
maybe that would then allow me to hire to
Somebody
to
to help you. Yeah.
right,
spend a little bit more time on the creative process, and
right,
have a not be running around like a have this
yeah.
chicken.
Well, and to help people understand, again, having recreated some formulas and done purchasing and all of that, even some very, very nice perfumes, things that I love and will happily purchase. You might be looking at a bottle that runs you about, let's say retail $200 to $250, and the formula might cost five
Yeah,
five
yes,
dollars,
yeah,
right? And again, just to help people understand, you're not anywhere close to you're in a completely different league
Yeah.
in terms of margins, like
yeah.
nothing like that based
So
on.
honestly, it's stupidity more than anything.
Well, again, it's the curse of the artist.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
insisting on making the best possible products, and you aren't thinking like, a maximum capitalist.
yeah,
You're making them
yeah,
available to people so that people can enjoy the work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, at the end of the day, I love very much what I do. So there's not much I would change.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you sniffing?
All of them. I mean, they're all beautiful.
They're all gorgeous.
Yeah, guys. So this is available on Lucky Scent. If you have not sampled, even if you just buy the sample set and just kind of live with these for a little bit,
I think and they're best to try them on your skin as well,
for
because
sure.
they do change quite a bit.
Yeah, that was my experience with Trist. I was shocked at the experience. I sprayed it and I went, oh yeah, very kind of pretty, orange blossom neroli. Yeah, I've smelled that. And then I put it on my skin and I went, wait, there's just a tremendous amount of depth and complexity going on under the surface here that I wasn't getting.
I find that with the natural perfumes, they all tend to smell good on people's skin, but they will smell different. So they will smell different on everybody's skin, but the result will always be pleasant. At least this is what I
Sure.
find.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is that?
That's Slow Dive.
That's Slow Dive. Is there Tonka?
Nope.
No.
Not listed.
Tobacco blossom honey. Nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
Slow Dive is a really popular fragrance.
It's really good. So far on me, I like the way Filter smells, maybe the best, but on me, Shangri-La is amazing. That's an incredible, beautiful Shibra.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so. I think it's such a sophisticated fragrance, Shangri-La. It's very. I remember years ago going to meet a friend, and I met her at the train station, and she says, "Smell me! What? Oh, yeah, that's okay." What am I wearing? I'm like, I don't really know all the perfumes on the market. You're gonna. And she's, it's Shangri-La. Can't you tell?
Could you tell?
I couldn't. No, I was.
Wow.
Noah has that too. He doesn't recognize his own work.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I made that myself. That's like a real perfume.
Yeah, like wow, that smells amazing.
We have a question in the chat here. This is why I sprayed Hide for you. What is Hiram Green Hide like? Can you describe?
What is it like?
Yeah. Obviously, Hiram can describe.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd rather hear it from the man, but from the user perspective, from the casual user, you have to like leathery notes.
Yeah.
There's a dominant kind of smoky, slightly spicy, leathery. Again, I'm shocked that you were able to do that without castoreum. It's what I classically would have sort of associated with castoreum. Tell us about
Hide.
About Hide, the creation of it, and hold on. Let's read. So the actual listings here are lemon, bergamot, birch tar, cassie, labdanum, vanilla, and oak moss. Those are the actual notes. Yeah, I mean, you have to like a little bit of a challenge. There's a challenge factor to this fragrance for sure. A lot of birch tar.
But for me, I don't like birch tar very much.
Right.
That is not overwhelming in any sense compared to a lot of the things that you have.
True.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's a nice smoky leather.
Yeah.
Pretty, I think, unisex. Personally. I do. Yeah. Maybe slightly masculine.
I'd be impressed by a woman wearing Hide.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah. It feels pretty masculine to me.
Well, I think it's also a good dinner party, like a sort of a cocktail dress kind of fragrance. But in terms of the inspiration for Hide was a fragrance that created when I had about 3 or 4 perfumes in the collection, and of course I like and wear all my perfumes, but I really wanted to make something that when I wore, when people ask, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a perfumer. Oh, and so it was sort of, I wanted to make something that really smelled.
Yeah. A statement piece.
A statement piece, and the inspiration happened really when I going to like a dive bar and an old concert venue, and seeing a sort of this really dark kind of gothic vibe to it. That was really if you like, the initial kind of inspiration.
Okay.
Uh, this kind of listening to music, this kind of rundown venue kind of place, and from there the perfume developed, and it was something that I made when I was happy with it. I thought, wow, this is quite extreme. So I have some fragrances now. Luckily, I have uh, Moon Bloom, and I think Slow Dive was already in the collection. Those are very popular fragrances. So if I introduce a fragrance that's not so popular, it's okay.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
you know, um, I do this for because I enjoy it, but it's also how I make my living. So
Yeah. Right. You do have to be careful.
it's important that I keep on selling all my perfumes.
Right.
But I thought, well, let's just see what happens with Hyde. So I launched Hyde, and I haven't done it with all the fragrances, but how do you say, I applied or I enlisted it in the Art and Olfaction Awards,
Yeah.
the awards that happen in California every year. And that year, Hyde won. So it won the
Oh,
Artisan Award for the Artisan Art and Olfaction
wow.
Award for 2019. And from that moment on, I just sort of thought, well, actually, it doesn't really matter how extreme or how wild the fragrance is, as long as I like it, then it's
You can
probably
trust your nose.
it's good enough for my customers. So it
Yeah.
won the award, and it's to this day. I wouldn't say it's the most. It's certainly not the most popular fragrance, and I think that is because it is more challenging. But
Right.
it always surprises me of how many people love it. I think with Hyde, it's one of those fragrances that if you love it, you really love it, and
Hmm.
don't like it, you really don't like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe that's the same from a lot of the fragrances in my collection, but certainly is there with Hyde. I think
Yeah.
uh,
I love it actually.
That was really nice. Very
it's
comfortable.
so dark, eh?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Those are
Really,
nice bottles too.
Yeah, those are gorgeous bottles.
yeah. We did all the bottles last year, and the cups.
Did you have those custom done?
The cups are custom. The bottles aren't because you
That's
really
so much money.
have to invest quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it was important for me to be sustainable wherever I could. So that meant with the cups, using a sustainable material like wood, it can always grow
Yep.
back more and more. And the insert, the bit on the inside is cork, so it's not plastic.
Ah, great.
Uh, that's another thing. The boxes um, are made from cardboard here in the Netherlands, made in the Netherlands, and it uses a new technique in box making. Yeah, this is. Don't know if many of your viewers will be interested in all
I'm,
this.
I'm interested, so they can just tag along for the ride.
But most, do I have a box lying around? Well, you probably have a perfume box lying around somewhere, and you'll find that if it's a rigid box like this, it's. I'm talking more about not the boxes that can be folded, but the rigid boxes like this.
Yeah.
So you have this
Classic
box.
niche box, niche on A.
Okay. So what you have is you have that black paper. Now, the paper is wrapped around cardboard. So first, how you start? Well, no. The actual rigid box.
Paper.
Oh, I see. This is paper
This
around.
starts with it starts with cardboard, and then what they tend to do is they'll put tape along the edges,
Hmm.
and then and that puts the cardboard together in the box, and then they cover the whole box with a thin paper. So
Yeah.
what you have is you have double the amount of paper and a lot of glue to glue it all together. I mean, it looks very pretty, but with this technique, it makes very sharp edges, which is kind
Mm.
of. And how it's done is they take the cardboard and they cut it at 45-degree angles, as you
Ah,
can
I
see it.
see. Yep, I can
And
see.
they just glue. It's glued in the corners, so there's very little glue. There's no paper covering it. I mean, you can. I chose to have a sort of uh, eco-looking, non-bleached cardboard, but you could have this in any color you want.
Mm.
But I think these are things that everyone should start taking into consideration, not just it's not just about having a natural product in the inside, but it's about using less materials.
Yeah.
Mm.
Something for everybody, not just an eco brand. I have this look, but could easily be in green, purple, or even shiny material, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Very cool.
That's very
And,
smart.
and also, again, expensive, right? Like these are,
yeah, these are premium boxes.
yeah.
I could have had something much cheaper made, and I probably should have. But at the end of the day, I really liked the way these looked.
Yeah. I love that.
And they had a great story behind them as well about this sort of about being more sustainable, and I like the process. But yeah, they're not cheap to produce. Certainly not in the volumes that I'm making. But
Yeah.
anyway, but they're nice, and looks nice. See,
Yeah,
putting,
very nice. So some
um,
folks are asking if they're allowed to ask questions. Yes, please, folks.
Yes.
Fire away. You know, we've been
oh,
dominating,
easy questions.
but by all means, please do if you have specific questions of Hiram. We'll keep chatting, but I'll keep an eye on the chat. Um, so, are you working on another fragrance? Are you just trying to keep up with existing production? Where are
I'm
you these days?
always working on a new fragrance.
Mhm.
Luckily, I'm okay with production at the moment. But yesterday or Monday, I moved. I think I mentioned that in the
Yeah,
beginning. So normally, you would see me with with all the perfumes behind me, all the little bottles of all the materials that I use to create the perfumes. Uh, but yeah, everything's still in boxes, and so this is what you get at the moment. I can turn the screen, and you can see, the
yeah.
wall there with all the empty. Yeah,
Waiting
not
for
this
every.
week, and it'll be a different story. I
Yeah.
hope. Uh,
We
uh,
have someone requesting that you make a gourmand fragrance.
yes, yes. I know it's on the list. It's on the list.
Yeah.
What sort of gourmand fragrance, though? That's
Yeah. Negligent banana.
do they
I'd
want?
like to know.
Do they
Yeah.
want vanilla? Do they want bread? Do they want
Butter.
yeah, garlic, onion?
Yeah.
You know, you'd mentioned earlier that you don't have a big frame of reference for what's out there, but do you make it a habit to kind of keep tabs a little bit on what's trending and what people are interested in, or you really don't care because you're going with your creative instinct?
It's hard not to take note of what's happening if you have a business and you're going to fairs like Exons, and um, I'm not working from underneath a shell or anything, but in terms of the creative process, I really um, do not follow the trends or even look at the trends. To be honest, sometimes I try to look at the trends and I say, okay, I really must make a gourmand fragrance, or sometimes I have for the next fragrance that will be launched, I had an idea of what I wanted to create, but during the whole um, um, development, something else happened, and it's not at all what I set out to do. So it's not at all. Maybe I wanted to follow the trend, but in the end, it isn't quite what people uh, would expect from the trend. Maybe it's a little bit, but it's not. It certainly isn't. It doesn't have those main Uh, characteristics. But at the end of the day, I'm very happy with the fragrance. So
Yes.
yeah,
That's what matters.
I think that I hope that my customers will like it too.
Everyone in the comments is an enormous fan of yours.
Yeah.
Katananzi Smells says,
We need to find some people who don't know me.
someone in the comments is saying, you keep up with the TikTok trends, though, and that's more important.
Yeah, exactly. These days it is, and I've just started TikTok only a month ago, so it's
And
brand
you're
new.
already up to 1,500 followers.
You
Yeah.
do great. You're doing
I don't know
great.
how good that is, but
It's very good.
It is good. It's hard to grow.
Yeah.
I see some people with many, many more. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I just started a month ago. So,
Yeah.
it's being on camera doesn't come naturally to me. It's not
Sure.
something, but I'm trying to have fun with it.
Somebody was asking, Hiram, if the cardboard boxes for your bottles is the same as the sample sets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same kind of. Okay, cool.
Same construction.
Yeah,
And
so-
somebody else says, Hiram, huge fan of your beautiful creations. I think Voyage 2019 is my favorite. Do you have a favorite childhood scent memory? And if so, have you incorporated it into one of your scents? What a great question.
Yeah.
Yes, Voyage 2019 was a limited edition fragrance, so it's no longer available. It was very nice, and I think you'll find some things in the future that are similar. But hard to say.
Yeah.
we won't hold you to it.
Yeah, don't hold me to it. Actually, in terms of childhood scent memories, there's nothing that really sticks out. I'm sorry. I should have a better PR story. I didn't want to be a perfumer from my childhood. It wasn't something that I thought I was always going to do. It was something that happened much later. If I think of anything in particular, it would be just the perfume that my mother wore before going out for a night on the town.
Do you know what it was?
She had a couple, but I really don't know what it was anymore. And I think everyone has that, or many people have that childhood memory. Your parents get all dressed up, or your mother gets all dressed up, and she puts on perfume because I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, people didn't wear perfume the same every day as much.
Right.
So it was really, and she would, kiss you goodbye, and you'd smell the perfume, and you knew that something was special if she was wearing perfume.
Right.
And maybe as a child, you pick up on these perfume smells much more. They become much more powerful. I don't know. It is a strong memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check the Instagram in case there's more questions.
Well, somebody had asked about a fruity fragrance.
Yeah.
Which of these would you consider to be the fruitiest?
I think Shangri-La is by notes, but or
yeah, Shangri-La has a bit of that peach note in it. Yeah, I really should produce. This is the trend this year. I'm a bit late for the trend, but everyone is doing fruity fragrances now. Looking at the collection, there isn't anything that is obvious fruity. I would just say the, the peach note in the Shangri-La is fruity, and for the gourmand lovers, you'll definitely like Slow Dive
Hmm.
Yeah, for
for
sure.
for the beeswax and honey.
Yeah, the
Uh,
beeswax is beautiful in it.
yeah, yeah. Uh, but the others, there are certainly some smells that don't match with, I would say, not even current trends, but any kind of trend, and that would be something like arboree. It's sort of it's out there on its own for me, at least. I
Yeah,
suppose you could say it's a. Some might say it's a powdery fragrance, but it's for me, it's
um,
much. Uh,
yeah. I ran out of space. I don't want to waste it.
Yeah,
yeah, I wore I wore
we're
this.
sample hoarders.
We are. Yeah, I wore it this morning. It is unique, but there is something comforting. It's
I'm
this
uh,
gonna waste it. Sorry.
that kind of I found a spot. The woodiness, the vanilla, the patchouli. Um,
Mm.
it really,
It's super nice.
if you want an imagery to go with that, or a sort of we could say hide is sort of the gothic look, the very black, um, dressed up kind of in your face. I think then Arbor is really the opposite, and I would really go with sort of pastel colors, sort of muted, kind of, Armani, Giorgio Armani suit from the 1980s,
yes,
something very clean and minimal. I think
yeah,
it's perfect for a man or a woman. So you could say Giorgio Armani dress or Armani
yeah.
uh, um, uh, suit, but something definitely with a very minimal quality to it.
Yeah. It is very, very just elegant and classy. And for me again, if people want frames of reference, like, I don't want to minimize the complexity of the perfume, but I try to keep an inventory in my mind. So when people say, well, give me a great patchouli, like I love patchouli and I want to have a new experience of patchouli, this is absolutely a must try.
Yeah, for the new experience of patchouli, that is Aberdeen, because patchouli is the main ingredient, or I would say the star of the fragrance.
Star for sure. Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the patchouli that people are used to smelling at all. It's a very
No. In fact, it took me a little bit to place it. I sprayed it on this morning and went, wow, this is just kind of familiar and cozy. And it wasn't until about 10 minutes in I went, wait, that's patchouli.
Yeah. We have a couple of questions in here.
Great.
One of them is, which of your creations are you the most proud of?
Which of your children do you like the most, Hiram?
yeah. No, do you have children?
She does.
I
I have
do.
stepchildren.
I have two. Yeah.
And which one's your favorite?
Can't say.
Is that how it is for you, truly?
It is. Yeah, I mean, yeah, mommy can't say which one's her favorite child,
Yeah.
at least on. But I will say this actually: the youngest, which is Trist, gets all the attention.
Does it?
Ah.
Yeah, the youngest one always gets the most attention.
It's really beautiful. Again, folks, that's the orange blossom, neroli, petitgrain.
Oh, that's not the one.
That's not that one.
That's filter.
That I wore thinking, well, it's fresh and light, and it'll, and 2 hours into it, it was still wafting off of. It's very strong too. I should mention. Um, really great longevity on that. I did spray quite a bit on my shirt when I wore it.
We have another question here. Do you have a favorite raw material or a raw material that surprised you the most?
Well, if I have to pick a raw material that is my favorite, I would say tuberose, absolute.
Mm.
But really, all the materials are. I really enjoy them all, working with them all. Material that surprised me the most. At the end of the day, they all kind of surprise me for either some of them being very easy to work with, like I find tuberose so easy to work with, or some materials so difficult to work with. So yeah, it's just learning the materials, and there's always nowadays there's so many new materials coming on the market, and that makes it interesting too.
Well,
Uh,
that was actually a question I had. Because my instinct was that, well, everything new coming out, it's like, well, all the naturals are there. There's nothing new natural, so all of the new things are aroma chemicals. But is your palette and availability of naturals continuing to expand and grow with the rest of the perfume materials?
yeah, growing and shrinking, changing. Uh, tuberose is now 18,000 euros a kilo. I have other ingredients that have really skyrocketed in the last couple of years. I'm now having real problems with sourcing ingredients. The price and availability um, are key factors. There just simply isn't enough of these materials to go around,
Yeah.
and where the materials grow has also been hit by droughts or
Mm.
things to do with global warming. So it's becoming more and more difficult to source some of the same materials. Um, on the flip side, there are new materials that they're starting to, or new plants and flowers that they're now starting to extract the oils of that they never used to for
Ah,
perfumery.
very.
So there are certainly a lot of new things, new materials that are more widely available or widely available at the moment that they can um, that are starting to extract because they smell nice, similar to other ingredients. There's also a lot of new distillation processes changing. Uh, New techniques in distillation, new things being experimented with, and now lots of upcycling. So I think you'll find this a lot in my perfumes in the future, where they take rose absolute, for example, and the residue from the absolute they then uh, extract that further,
Yeah,
rather throwing it rather than it being waste. They find another way to use it, and that has a different kind of smell, something that's
very
familiar
cool.
with rose, but is different at the same time. So they're starting to do this with a few ingredients. Yeah, just um, the world's changing, and it's changing for natural perfumery as well.
Yeah, yeah.
We had an interesting question from Sarah. What fragrance on the market do you wish you had created? I feel like this is a question that's being asked of a lot of perfumers.
Yeah,
I
and
see it
and
a
it's
lot.
always interesting to ask guys like Hiram and some of the other independents up because it's like when they don't go around smelling everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't really go into the shops and smell everything. Um, I, um, so I don't really know everything that's current. So I'm not really the right person to ask.
right.
But
Yeah.
it would probably be something very classical, something very, very old.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not sure which fragrance.
I'll throw something out there. I'll be brash enough to speak for you, Hiram, and it's because I'm sitting here smelling Arbore, which is this beautiful, classy patchouli, and it makes me think of Givenchy Gentleman, the original. I mean, not that they smell exact, but that's a classical
Uh,
patchouli-based vintage masculine that's something that gives an air of sort of ease and um, kind of mature masculinity.
about about 30 years ago, I smelled Blonde Tobacco by Carol,
Yes,
and
it's a
the,
grail fragrance these days.
the perfume, and I really really like that. And I thought when I have enough money, I'm going to buy a bottle of it for myself. And
Awesome.
I did buy a bottle, but it smells nothing like the way I remember.
It turned.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
Really
they
so
changed the
disappointing.
formula or not because I didn't have the original. It was just what it smelled like in my mind, and you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I
nice.
could say that, but I'm not sure if that's the one.
Sure.
Uh,
Okay, let's see if we got any other questions. Doesn't look like it on Instagram.
Somebody was asking if everything that a natural perfumer uses is safe for the skin.
Well, again, to
Some
the
things,
earlier
yeah.
conversation, natural perfume, just because they're natural doesn't mean they do in fact still have allergens. So it's just going to depend on the person.
Yeah. Ange
it's
is in here commenting and saying, for vintage Caron, look on Etsy. Don't look on eBay. That's her tip. She's a vintage hunter. She can find everything.
well, at the moment, I only wear my own perfumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one do you wear more often? Is there one that you tend to gravitate towards?
Well, uh, normally when I in the evening when I go out and I want to uh, wear a perfume, I will tend to pick up Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
Through the day, every day, I really like Trist, and I like well. This morning I put on Arcadia,
I'm 3 for 3.
so
You
but
smoke.
I mean, I enjoy them all, but I tend to go more for I tend to wear Hyde quite a bit, and I think during the day when I'm in my studio, I'm surrounded by so many smells, and if I'm working on a new fragrance, then I'll always be trying it on myself. So I
Yeah.
kind of also enjoy the time when I'm not wearing perfume. I know I don't know. I do wear perfume, but probably um, not so much. Well, because I'm always trying things out, and
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
always smelling. Maybe
Yeah.
not always good.
Right.
Oh, need to go back to the studio tomorrow to work up why that one's not working well. So.
Yeah. Right.
Someone was asking why natural perfumes don't last as long as synthetic. Is there a science behind that or some reason?
Well, I would say that my natural perfumes last a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
You can be the judge of that. A lot of natural perfumers are a lot of natural perfumes are made by people who either haven't had so much training or experience,
Mm-hmm.
so aren't able to make a longer lasting fragrance, or if it's done by a larger company, maybe it's to do with cost restraints.
Right.
Um,
I'll just share again that I wore Trist yesterday as my scent of the day, and I got as good, if not better, performance longevity out of it than I do a lot of my other fragrances.
And that's
yeah,
what everyone in the comments who has his fragrances is saying.
Yeah,
That it lasts a really long time.
Yeah, they perform very well.
Yeah.
that's sort of something that's very important to me. In terms of making a fragrance last long, that is certainly not a problem with natural fragrances. What is more difficult is to create this sort of projection of the fragrance from your skin. And I work as that is what I really try to achieve with the fragrances. They're not the same as some of the synthetics. I mean, you just can't duplicate these some of these chemicals that they use
Right.
in modern perfumes. But I think you could certainly compare these fragrances to more classic perfumes from uh, you know 50 years ago or before.
Hmm.
Mm.
If you're comparing them to a new fragrance from today, I mean they can. I have some fragrances that people have given me, and I spray them on my clothes, and I wash them, and they still come out of the washer smelling like the perfume. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't stand that, to be honest. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm the same way.
I know that that's what many people like
Uh,
nowadays.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. It's not a good trend.
I give away the perfumes that last too long.
No, it's
To beast mode. Goodbye. Yeah.
for
So
sure.
before we wrap up, so we let you go back to bottling, is there anything that you want to throw out there for new things for people to look for from you? New fragrances or anything new?
Well, there will be new fragrances, of course, as long as people buy the
Existing fragrances.
Yes.
there will be new fragrances to introduce. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm hoping I can keep on going. I hope I can keep on going along for as long as it takes. But I'm very excited about the fragrances that I'm working on now. I don't want to give too much away, um, either about the smells or when they will launch. I can say that the next fragrance will be another floral perfume, but it will not be the kind of floral note that you might expect.
Hmm.
I let someone, I let one of my retail partners smell it, the woman here in Amsterdam, and she said it was very well blended, and she's also a perfume evaluator, so she knows her stuff. And she could not recognize which flower it was that I
oh
used
wow.
ingredients. So,
Very cool.
so I was quite surprised, and for me, this was very interesting, and why it was so beneficial for me to just why it is very beneficial for me to talk to other people because I know exactly what I've used, and that makes it sometimes difficult because I know exactly
Yes.
what I'm smelling. But
Yes.
if you're just smelling the perfume for the first time, you smell it as a
As a whole
complete
composition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
condition, and that was just something that I hadn't expected. So I hope other people will like it as much as I like it, and Tanya from the Perfume Lounge, the shop in Amsterdam, likes it as well.
Very exciting. So now to that end, Hiram, understanding how these retail relationships work, um, is it if people are interested in your work? I've noticed that you do ship to the U.S. from there.
Mhm.
Is there an advantage? Can we say that all things being equal, it would be nice for people to purchase directly from you?
Um, Not necessarily. I suppose if people are watching the video and they purchase from my website, then I have an idea of, of if how many people were watching and how many people thought it was interesting. But in reality, it's I really don't mind if you go to Lucky Scent. In fact, purchasing From Lucky Cent, you get it probably arrives soon. If you're based in America and you
Yeah.
purchase from Lucky Cent, you're probably going to get it sooner than purchasing it from my website. In addition to that, the delivery, the shipping fee will be much cheaper from Lucky Cent than from my website. The only advantage from my website is with a discovery kit, you get a 15 euro discount voucher to use for your next purchase, and for the full bottles on my website, there's no shipping charge to America, so that is free.
Oh, that's quite generous.
It is quite generous, and I'm probably will not be able to do it for much longer, but. So that's why I say it really doesn't matter if you purchase from my website, or I want to make sure that the retail partners also sell well, because
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
the
that's
whole
important.
They're buying most of your work. So
buy it wherever you're comfortable with, is all I have to say. Yeah.
great.
Yes. Apparently, Ministry of Scent also carries you.
Not any longer, by the way.
Oh, not any
Oh.
longer?
Yeah,
Okay.
not listed on my website anymore. They had it. They sold it really well. I probably should have a bit of an open book, and I don't know why they stopped with many brands, not with mine, and I don't know. Maybe they'll reorder at some point, but for the moment they're not available. I mean, there's Ministry of Scent
Okay.
in America. They're available at Lucky Scent and the Scent Bar, the Shop Connected, both in LA and in New York. I also have a fantastic retailer in Cleveland, Ohio, called Indigo Perfumery.
Uh-huh.
And
I've heard of
Indigo
them.
is
Cool.
fantastic. She's a really nice woman. And also in Chicago, there is Mare's Apocryphy.
Yes. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a great shop, and I was both in last September. I was at Cleveland and Chicago to visit both these stores. They're both great places, and then there are a couple other websites around America. One based in Boston, I think, or outside of Boston. But the complete list of stockists are on my website. At the bottom of the website, you'll find all the information.
Awesome. Okay.
Great.
So,
And
I
then
should, yeah.
there's
Go
a
ahead.
show. There's a show coming up in Stockholm. Will you be there?
No, not the one coming up. Because of the move here and everything going on, I just have so much to do at the moment. So that's sort of the disadvantages of being a one-man band.
Yeah.
But they're doing another show in Stockholm in the winter, and my plan is to attend that one.
Cool.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's been really good meeting
Yeah.
you, and spending some time with you. I hope that I can make it out to Denver, Colorado
Yeah.
soon.
If you do, please let us know.
Yeah. We can hang out.
Good memories of going up to the top of Pikes Peak.
Yeah, it's a great drive.
Yeah. So I used to drive. My grandfather used to drive us up to the top and back down. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway, it would be cool to go back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let us know.
Anytime.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your time, Hiram.
Yes.
We appreciate that. I know everybody online watching appreciates it, and we will be hopefully sending many of our friends your way.
Yes. Bye. Have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, thank you, and you too. Yeah.
All right. Take care, Hiram.
Bye.
Bye.